Welcome back to another LinuxGameCast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, hipster pixels have been explained. Now, would you please stop? Storm United brings their UE4, that's Unreal Engine 4 powered shooter to Steam, and you can beta test it for $19.99 before it goes free to play. And Project Cause, well, the Linux port is delayed. I remember when it was coming out the same day last November.
Steam introduces two-factor authentication that no one will ever use. It's Pew Pew number 2. Gratuitous Space Battles sequel is out. And you want to break your Logitech mouse? Well, I got a program for you.
Valve introduces a spam bot tax, which does nothing other than cover their asses if it ever gets to court. NVIDIA is not the best when supporting open source. In other shocking news, dogs lick their own balls. And we have a special word from Jim FKN Sterling, son. If you're a Unity developer, you may want to take a deep breath before replying to his video.
I'm Ben Stone here at LGC Actual, switching the bits, doing all this nightmare fuel directly on Linux for your eye organs and your ear pussies, joined every week by my man up in Canada. How you doing, sweetie?
Dynamite.
Oh, I speak jive too, baby. And from Space Portugal.
Yeah, no, I'm not even touching that one.
That's brilliant, and together with Chatroom Dynamic, we form a bit of a cocaine Voltron. Before we get started, right quick, let's see what's going on in each other's lives. Let me start out because I finally finished Shadow Warrior. It took me 13 or 15 hours, I forgot, but I finally got all the pieces of the Kobayashi Maru, stuck them together, and I'm not spoiling anything, but you don't get to cock about too much with that thing because it's too awesome. Ended, and I said, yeah, all right, that's an ending, that's a thing. What's up, Jay, baby?
So I don't know. I was going to ask how would you rate it on the Wango meter when all's said and done?
I would give it an 8 out of 10 wings.
8 out of 10 wings. Not 8 out of 10 swings, though. No, I've been up to nothing all week, just busy working. What about you, Pedro?
I spent the entire day binge-watching the entire first season of Netflix's Daredevil. It was awesome. The second episode, that fight that he has in the hallway against all the Russians.
The extended take one? Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was awesome. I was laughing my lungs off at the end of that. I'm like, yep, you got me. So I spent about 10 hours just binge watching the whole damn thing.
Well, you can get very far by ripping off Old Boy. That's just kind of an action movie staple. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, what are you doing now?
Well, our horse never rips off Old Boy.
Our horse never rips off Old Boy because it requires a $5 purchase before it lets you rip off anything on there. It's our Steam Lex update.
What is going on?
That's not the right window.
Double.
Let's find the right window. There we go.
There we go. Yeah, so Steam has introduced two-factor authentication through their mobile app. So that's all very well and good. Everyone knows that passwords are essentially like security bubble wrap. But if you add a secondary authentication mechanism that is random and constantly refreshes, your account's going to be a lot more secure. So good on them for that. It's a shame, though, because I use two-factor auth everywhere, but no one is going to make use of this amazing feature. Mind you, Blizzard has been doing this for a while as well with Warcraft. But they added an incentive to it. I'm not sure if Steam or Valve is going to go that way.
I don't know. I mean, it's in a bit of a beta. And when I first looked at this, because I remember when the Googs first came out with the two-factor, I was like, brilliant, we're going to use that everywhere. And that lasted 14, possibly 15 seconds. And I was like, no. That's kind of what I put here in the notes. I mean, this will absolutely, definitely, 100% cut down on account hijacks if people use it. And they won't.
Yeah, two-factor authentication is nice, but I always feel like it's a chore trying to log into something and having to pull up my phone, get the thing, and then write down code.
No. Information security is hard.
Look, they have the Steam Guard. I get email, so unless they manage to figure out my email passphrase, it's not called a word anymore.
It's the same as your Steam password. FYI.
No, it isn't. Unfortunately, yeah. Sorry, hackers.
All right, so there's no country for VPNs, apparently.
Yes.
This is a thing. What is it? You never heard of it. This is a thing. So Steam is, well, Valve, Steam, everybody, the whole lot, they're coming together and saying, okay, we're going to sort this because Russia, I didn't say that, a lot of people going around saying, oh, set this up and do this, and I'm going to try to buy this at a lower currency, maybe gift it back and all that. And this is just phase 1. We'll get into multiple. Actually, this is phase 2. Phase 3 is coming up. And like, okay, from now on, this is a good thing. If you travel a bit, if from your home country and all that, and you have your payments setting there, it doesn't matter if you're in Space Portugal, you can still buy stuff back in the States or in Canada or in the Brazils or anything like that. Now, I thought, correct me if I'm right, P-Man, that this might also break cross-region price comparisons in Steam database, or, is there any deal type sites and businesses like that?
Yeah, it only locks the Steam prices to your account. So say you're looking at the Steam store without logging in, you can still compare prices. So those websites like the Steam database and whatever, they don't exactly have a Steam account to compare the prices. They can just go on the website and set up an API to read the value using the different country flags. And that's the thing. You can still add a question mark CC equals and then the country code. So if you want to check the prices here in Portugal, you add a PT. If you're in the US, you can check the US, or if you want to check out the prices in Canada, just so you can laugh at how much their dollar has decreased in value, you can just add the
more like the US dollar has increased in value. No, so there if you do spend a lot of time in multiple countries and you have multiple credit cards for each country, there is a silver lining to this, and that is if you switch your country of origin in your Steam account, you can buy games from other regions pending or dependent on if you have a payment method with an address that is in that region. So if you have a US credit card, you have a UK credit card, you go to the UK, you make your UK purchases, that's all well and good. So I mean, there is that.
I don't know. Do you think this will be an inconvenience, or is this going to help people? I mean, what's the end?
This is going to stop people from buying games from Russia so they can get it for cheaper. But for everyone else, it's just a minor bump in the road. It's not even, I wouldn't call it an inconvenience, because again, you can still check the different prices between regions, even though you can't purchase them. You can still check them if you log out of Steam. That's it.
All right. Well, speaking of cheapskates.
Ooh, yes. And for the final act.
The final hammer down, as it were.
Yeah, so there are a bunch of people on Steam who just make accounts with the keys they have redeemed from, say, Humble Bundle, paying $1, and they get all those keys. And so then they use those Steam accounts to scam people, to hijack accounts, to do whatever. And now Valve has introduced new ways of preventing that from happening, namely by limiting user accounts. So say you create a Steam account, and unless you spend $5 or more on said account, you don't get access to the social features. Like, say, you can't vote for games on Greenlight, send friend invites, participate in the Steam market, which is where a lot of people make a lot of money.
Now, P-Man, I just want to ask you, though, when you said voting on Greenlights and like Steam reviews and workshop items, don't you think that that's just going to cut down on like shite games that we've seen a million times, and people have wondered, how does this get on Greenlight? That's because they'll give away 300 copies and say vote on Greenlight. Do you think that is
that's
something?
One big bonus. But I was looking at this, and the first thought that came into my head was, so that's a $5 spam/phishing tax?
No. I think for the
something awful has that too. I mean,
right?
Yeah, you got to pay $5 to actually post on the forums. This isn't really any different, and I mean, hell, you don't even need to buy a game if you get like a gift card from the gas station and redeem it. You add $5 to your Steam wallet. That's good enough.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, we were talking before the show. J-Man asked us like, "How do you do?" And I said, "Well, you can get a Visa and whatever." But I was reading on our Steam, then also read on our PC Master Race, and this is what genuinely bothered me. there were a couple of people from country X, I mean, multiple countries, swearing there was no possible way to add the equivalent of 5 U.S. wet stinkies to their account immediately, followed by people from that country calling them the fuck out and saying, yes, you can. You're just a damn cheapskate. And here's the thing. If you can't be bothered to put 5 wet sticky, you don't have to buy anything. You just have to put it there. You can leave it alone.
You can get some solid games for $5.
Right. And Valve's like, where's popcorn, bread? I mean, if you want to use our service, I mean, and the fun thing. Yeah, B-Man knows where I'm going. Somebody wrote, this is just a form of DRM. And I was like, Valve, Steve, DR,
Don't you know? Steam's not DRM at all.
No, it's DRN, whatever the hell that stands for. I can't think of a clever acronym for it. But I mean, again, you can get like Portal 2 for $5. If you time it right, you can get a AAA game for $5. So it's not really that terrible, and the only people who are really complaining are the people who can game the system and have something to benefit from it. Mm-hmm. But it's time to front the storm. Or is that
right? Storm United. Man, I got my jollies off when I saw this because it looks amazeballs. What is it? You never heard of it. Storm United is an indie-developed, class-based multiplayer first-person shooter designed for sensations and fun with UDA. Whatever the hell that is. Custom in-game user interface. Basically, it's like, it looks a bit like a warthog now, doesn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
Looks a lot like Halo.
Check this out.
The level design's kind of...
Yeah, I mean, it's 1999
like Halo, but
the
game itself is like...
multiplayer, cross-platform, and I'm looking at all this, I'm like, oh, I am definitely going to pick this up because I found out that this is really one of our first Unreal Engine 4 games available on Steam, and people are like, yeah, it runs fine, it runs great. And I was, okay, I'm about to pull the trigger, but I had to check the forums when I saw this. Will it be free-to-play after release, ? Well, Brad, the developer is like, yes, it's our goal in around the 6 to 12 months time the game will become free-to-play. Buying the early access will allow you to play the game before everyone else, and you get all this in-game credits, premium character, and all that. Well, we should also mention that Epic gave these lot $10K in their little funding. You know, we talked about that a couple of weeks back. If you have a half-decent game, you know, they'll give you some support and all that business. But it looks like a well-done shooter, but fucking all. If I'm paying for a public beta test, that will go free-to-play with a yet-to-be-released business model. I mean, I just don't.
I don't know, because this seems like it really ends up looking like Unreal Tournament 4 or whatever the hell they're calling it, mixed with TF2. It's just Unreal Tournament with classes. That's
no. Everyone in chat realm, Static, was saying that looks a lot like Halo. I mean, you got the Warthog, you got the Master Chief looking motherfuckers. On, like, the
level design and the imagery, but this is Unreal 4 with TF2 class-based mechanics.
It's the Unreal 4 engine, but it looks a lot like Halo.
Yeah, it looks a lot. The gameplay seems a bit different because you're not limited to like 2 weapons and whatever. But
I don't know.
Regardless,
we're not going to debate whether. I mean, it looks like pure eye candy. I mean, it blows your things. It's like, yes, I'm glad to see that. But here's
it makes me look forward to other Unreal games coming out.
Mm-hmm. And what I'd like to call a dick move is the people that were beta testing this early. Now you have to pay $19.99 to be a beta tester. Which, check this out, they're early beta testers, and they're like, oh, the people who helped them put together the game, they walked in and said, F you, you're out, unless you want to pay $19.99 to continue beta testing for a game that will become eventually free. And so, nope, out of that business.
Yeah.
Up next, Age of Wonders.
It's wonderful. Yeah. So, the 1.5 patch came out for this game, Age of Wonders. And it adds some interesting features. In addition to adding Linux support, it adds play-by-mail support, so we can finally add send mail as a system requirement. I actually found out that Civ has the play-by-mail mode. So, like, if you have multiplayer games, they'll send you an email when your turn finally comes around. Speaking of Civ, though, this is... I've watched Roommate play the previous... I think it was Age of Wonders 2 or something like that. It might have actually been Age of Wonders 3. But it's basically fantasy Civ with more of an emphasis on combat.
Look at the price on Brad.
I mean,
not
it's
cheap.
at least an A-class game. I wouldn't necessarily say it's AAA, but it certainly has a decent pedigree. So that's what you'd be expecting to pay. I don't know. It's probably going to go on sale for dirt cheap in, let's call it, a couple months.
It has been out since March 31st, 2014, and it's still 40 euros.
Yes, summer sale is coming up, so it's going to drop. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah,
about it.
let's hope so.
Brace yourselves. Okay,
Oh, yes.
this
So
thing,
it seems a bit odd.
the storm is brewing.
Just a bit.
Abe's Exodus remake planned.
In my pants.
Can new and tasty success pave the way for Exodus? Okay. They're just talking about, some things they said on the Twitches. Which is alright, yeah, if that's all, well, then we're going to do a complete remake and start work on a full ground up of Abe's Exodus. And for anyone really excited about that, just remember, it was almost 2 months before the Linux port had half-functioning controller support. And I, to this day, the best they could do was like walking to that Pawn Shop TV series. Was like, the best we can do is, here's a config file that maybe kind of works and, whatever. And another user in our forums kind of came up with a better one. Who cares?
It was Strider who came up with that one.
Yeah, that was Strider. Good on Strider.
Yep.
And seriously, do you honestly expect an Arch user to be able to figure that out? I don't. And if they're not showing any type of commitment, I'm not really looking forward to it, because I really couldn't play it when it launched, and I think it was like...
And it is at its core a nostalgia cash grab as well. So, I mean, the game looks fine and it ran fine, but again, it's fucking unplayable for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good. It doesn't really inspire a lot of hope in these guys' abilities to maintain a game in long term. But who knows? They might turn themselves around. Now, this one, I saw the headline for it and then completely trolled me on it.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not donating at least $3.50 or $2.50 on the Patreons, you don't get to see the show notes, and you missed Jordan screaming, "Son of a bitch!" at Ben.
Yeah, the headlines rock the dragon, and I knew better, but there was that second of doubt where I'm like, "Shit, is there going to be a Xenoverse Linux port?" Oh, why did you get my hopes up? I knew they would be dashed,
it's
and I clicked it
Dragon
anyways.
Fantasy, the volumes of Westeria, and they say it's an old adventure. Whatever
it's
that
not
means.
Westeros, by the way. George R. R. Martin, please
No,
don't
no,
sue
no.
us.
Fight your way through hordes of strange, silly, and scary monsters. Explore the caves, castles, and dungeons of an ancient evil. Meet warriors, princes, pirates, zombies, and crazy old woodsmen in a
Kill them and
huge
take their
world
stuff.
of epic retro adventure. Yeah, it's 2D, well, 2.5D technically. Top-down adventure
Hipster
type
pixel,
game.
yeah.
The main character looks a lot like Indiana Jones, but the overworld screenshots and the battle system that they show reminds me a lot of Final Fantasy, and I'm pretty sure there's more than a few Zelda elements thrown in there.
It's specifically the original Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy 1.
Yeah.
That's what I see. I don't know. They describe it as a JRPG. So if you like linear sort of grind fests, it's only it's $11 Canadian.
It's
No weird
€10,
system requirements. So who knows? You can run it in a VM with half a gig of RAM. It's so gratuitous. So gratuitous. This is brought to you by our pal Flippage. But you may remember this from, yes, glibcos. But again, it's the power of FNA. Now, if you, I think it was the second or third Humble Bundle, you grabbed. If you picked that up, you got Gratuitous Space Battles 1, which was a weird little game where you basically just set up your ships and watch them pew pew each other to death. And they have a sequel now. They have some community aspects of it as well.
Just in, glibcos has been upgraded to support 32 and 64-bit.
Zom! Oh my god. FNA just knows no bounds. No, but basically they added a lot more customization options in this, and the ability to share your ships so you can battle your friends' fleets or battle random people's fleets. clocks in at $30, which I feel is a little cheap for a game that you don't really play all too much. Most of the gameplay is designing your ships, setting up their initial positions and their general strategies, and then just sort of watching them pew-pew each other, as I said before.
Yeah, the price isn't exactly appealing.
Yeah. The only thing I remember playing the original, I was like, wait a minute, this all has happened before, and it will happen again. Then I quit watching Battlestar Galactica, and I came back in here, and it's like, oh, yeah, it's this game. I put 50 minutes into that game. I don't remember any of it, and I had fuck all idea what I was doing when I started it back up. And I was like, apparently that was a blackout game. Beats me.
Stop being such a square, then.
I know, right? Be a hero.
Yes. Be a hero instead. Square Heroes, and they say you should join the Galactic Tournament in a fast-paced comical action shooter. Comical is a bit of a stretch there. You can level up your hero and play online, multiplayer, or on LAN. Own your skills in single and custom games. So whatever that means to you, to me, it just screams, yeah, we made another 2D, probably Unity game, judging by the coins. There's no grass, so I can't be sure.
Well, we talked about this way back when in episode 110. They released on the server.
That's where I had heard of it.
And it finally made it to Steam. It's still a $10 Liero clone. I mean, I can download Liero for free, play it in DOSBox, and get about the same amount of gameplay you would get here.
You get less of gameplay here because Liero actually allowed you to burrow through the ground and the level itself around you. This game,
and
not so much.
And only $10. No amount of horse is gonna fix that. I don't know. I'd give this a pass unless it goes on sale for like $1.
And I think ellipses are a very nice Steam distro because in the OS section they say minimum Ubuntu, SteamOS, Linux Mint, ellipses. Recommended Ubuntu, SteamOS, ellipses.
Ellipse.
Heads bowed down at the starting line.
Yeah! No, this guy is starting up a distance charity tournament.
Yeah, right.
They describe it as a tag team, so basically, it's happening May 9th.
Well, what is distance? I've never heard of it.
Oh, it's that racing game that apparently runs like complete ass on Linux.
You did to me.
No, you can join the Steam group. When I last checked, so they have 32 slots open. When I last checked, they had 22 open. They have 23 now, so you can still get in if you're interested.
It's for Child's Play, right?
Yeah, it's for Child's Play, for a charity. So I threw the link in the show notes. You can click on that and join the game if you're interested in that. It's for a good cause. If you like distance, you want to compete against other people, see how well you do, have that.
The only thing I'm like remotely concerned about is because everyone's figured out every single little hack for every single little track, and the developers have been like, keep using it. I don't know, people.
I like distance, but the very few online multiplayer matches that I've played against other people, I've had my ass ended to me, so I'm gonna give this one a pass. I don't want to embarrass myself, but speaking of
no more than you do every week on this podcast.
Yeah. Besides that, let's make a moment of silence and listen to the musings of Mr. Jim FKN Sterling, son.
Thank God for us, but let's check this out.
Rule 4. Understand that being in early access does not protect you from criticism. A fair number of both developers and gamers alike seem to labour under the impression that just because something's in early access, it's unfair to judge it in its current state. No, the moment you start charging money for something, you're offering a product for sale, and you damn right a product for sale deserves to be criticised. I don't care what the game might be, I care what it is now, what you're asking for money for now. There's a sad amount of positive Steam reviews for shit early access games, including that shameful After Reset, that are giving titles thumbs up based on pure speculation, positively rating it based on what they think it may look like one day. That's not helpful, not at all. More to the point, when you look at something like A New Reckoning, you don't have to be a clitting genius to see that it's never, not in a million years, going to be any good. It doesn't require a ton of intuition or insight to work that out. Too many times have I been reprimanded for slacking off an early access game because we allegedly can't judge something before it's finished. Sorry, but again, in a world with Necro and Darkest Dungeon, there's a pretty clear divide between early access games that are worth our time and money and ones that are clearly bloody not. Your game may not be finished, but we can see where it's going, we can judge it for what it is. Early access is not a deflector shield, and I've said it already, but I'll say it again, we shouldn't be in the business of selling faith. Give us something worth buying now, not a promise. And rule 5...
Wow, thanks, Jim.
Yeah.
That filled out a good 3 minutes of our podcast.
The biggest reason I want to put that in there because this is something we've been screeching about for almost 3 years. And everyone comes back to try to defend the developers. It's an early access. It's not all done. You can't criticize. They ported to Linux beta. Fuck off. Seriously,
Yeah.
I've said this verbatim. The second I exchange monies for goods and services, you're fair game. Period. I'm sorry.
No, and the problem he's describing too is exacerbated on Linux, just who would naturally number smaller, naturally
And
smaller
J-Man,
number
we
of games.
even have a rule for early access at LGC.
Yeah, no, we if it's been in early access for more than a year, it's fair game for outright review.
And before that, we don't review it, right?
Yep. And again, like I was saying, the problem is additionally exacerbated by lazy devs who click export in Unity developer or the Unity SDK and then just ship it off to Steam. Oh yeah, it's fine. Actually, kind of like the game we're reviewing this week.
Yeah. And when it comes to engines that actually support Linux, because we get a lot of shit for shitting on Unity games, it's not our fault. Because when it comes to engines that support Linux out of the box, there wasn't much in the way of choice a couple of years ago. It was either Unity or Ogre. And no one in their right mind wants to deal with Ogre. So
too many layers, man. It's too many layers.
Well,
you gotta use the parfait.
unlike an ogre, we're just a bunch of parfaits. So coming up next, the news. Hey, J-Man, P-Man?
What's up, sweetheart?
Babies, I'm feeling guilty. It's like I got all these games and they got no home.
Yeah, you're a terrible parent.
monster.
That's why we're having another Way of Give. Check this business out. A Way of Give number 10. We have a new Way of Give. Check that out. Check that out. Again, hashtag check that out.
Hashtag check it out. No, we got this lovely picture of Mr. Matt Hartley from last week's episode, and we want you to make this as horrifying as humanly possible. And if you win, actually the top 10 entries get a choice out of this entire massive whack of games. You can pick it, and we'll give it to you, and you can play your freaking games.
We
got
some
empty
entries.
by
Empties coming
Yeah,
in.
two entries,
Maddie.
actually.
We got
We got one
Orange.
from. We got one from Orn. Yeah,
My plagiarism
variations on a
sense is
theme
tingling
here,
on that
but-
one.
I mean, bitch, I got extenders. Do you?
Go ahead, take that challenge, take the Pepsi challenge, something you might want to make note of. If you're new to this business, you've been watching us a long time, you don't get into chat room static. Normally, once you sign up, we'll keep an eye on it. I mean, give it a few ons, but your first post has to be moderated, so don't think it disappeared. Don't post 30 othering times. Just let it sit. Make sure it's good, and we'll get back to you next week with our top 10 winners, because there's like 30-something games in there. That's going to be brilliant for you to win.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for your good old Linuxy news. And in true LGC tradition, we start with drivers. This week, NVIDIA.
Yep, they have finally gotten around to releasing the 349.16 drivers. This is supposed to be the newest long-lived branch. So if you're not a fan of tracking the beta and you just want to install something and have support for the next 6 or so months to a year,
Yeah.
this is the driver for you. Nothing really, really new. It's basically everything that's been in the betas we've been covering folded in. Pedro, you did mention that they're adding access. They're adding support for the new Maxwell cards with the signed firmware.
Yep, they have, and it's mostly the mobile cards like the 920Ms and the 930A. I don't know which is that one,
to the
but yeah, they do
940.
support the Titan X on Linux. That's a big deal. 12 gigs of VRAM, and they're not segmented.
12 gigs, you mean 11.5. LGC cares. Here's the one bug that I would love them to squish, because this is a known bug, this is a real thing. If you have DisplayPort, HDMI, and DVI all connected to a 980, which is going running 3 monitors when you're not gaming, it puts it at performance level 3, hashtag yellow swag Dorito. Fuck you, because that's why. And the memory it can adjust, but the clock speed's always like zzz, running. That's a bit irritating. But I'm running them, no issues. Didn't see any massive performance gains at 4K or anything like that. But, fire bad.
Speaking of Maxwell and sign firmware updates like Jordan mentioned, bad NVIDIA. Bad. Yeah, this comes from PC World. As usual, you can check out all the links in our show notes. But there was a post, if you don't pay attention to Reddit, there was a post coming up that one of the Nouveau developers said that the new Maxwell cards are not very open source friendly. And there's been a bunch of articles such as this one popping up all over. And this one, they says, why NVIDIA graphics are the worst for open source, but the best for Linux gaming. Yeah, that article title says it all right there. NVIDIA was... Yeah, NVIDIA was never the biggest supporter of open source in its current format anyway.
No. They haven't, but they have been the biggest supporter of functioning Linux drivers.
Yeah, precisely. Their proprietary drivers provide you the best quality in terms of playing games, running your highly composited KDE Plasma 5 desktop like I am. But
and 2 other people.
They don't really control, they don't really contribute to the open source community. And
that's not 100% true. They did add some Maxwell support in Nouveau.
They do, yeah.
Specifically for the ARM drivers.
Yes,
that was the big contribution
They have released some of the headers for the Tegra drivers, and they kind of need the Nouveau guys to sort that out in case people want to run something other than Android on, say, an NVIDIA Shield tablet. But yeah, the Nouveau guys could not get past the firmware, the signed firmware on the Maxwell cards, and I guess that this new architecture...
We got the signed firmware, Brad, but don't just start hating on the NVIDIA just yet. There's actually a legitimate reason. To quote, make sure I get this right, NVIDIA said it was moving to signed firmware images to improve security and prevent knockoff graphic cards that were really lower-end NVIDIA cards with firmware from higher-end GPUs on them. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a legitimate problem. If you ever jump over to PC Master Race, you'll see people fighting like these Chinese cards. It's like, oh yes, an NVIDIA 970 for 56 wet, stinky caches.
Yeah.
Some people will actually, it's like, why not?
So apparently some people lack bullshit detectors.
Yes. But yeah, until NVIDIA starts turning a profit from supporting open source initiatives, I don't see them changing their MO anytime soon. And yes, that includes shitting from up high like they did when the 970. And as much as I hate NVIDIA for what they did, I still don't like that I'd only have around 30% of performance from, say, an AMD card using their drivers. Or that I would be paying an arm and a leg for an Intel processor with an embedded graphics card that utterly sucks in comparison.
Really, all we're saying is I'm using Jordan's tactic. I just repeat one letter and word over and over. What we're saying is if Stallman played games, he would support NVIDIA.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Anyways, and the only reason whatever. Fucking Project Cars, go on.
Cars! All right. So, we got an update. We got some new things.
For our favorite racist game.
Wii U and SteamOS versions to follow later 2015. Now, if you don't know about Project Cars, it got its Kickstarter and all that, the green light they're still in early access and all that. Tons of money, tons of backing. And everyone is like, yes, this is good, but here's the thing, Brad. Way back, let's travel to January of 2014. And Leviathan, one of the developers, is like, there's no ETA. We expect it to be released along with the other versions. Nothing's written in stone. Then again, he's like, there's no info evidence or support. Steam will work with our game. And it's like, okay, I'm good with this. Now, if you don't know what Project Cars is, I mean, it's supposed to be a very brilliant advanced motorsport racing game, and I've been dying for a speed racist game. And I totally remember that. I just had to go search for it because I remember reading that and I was like, these guys are good. Now, I don't want to say developers lie. They're not necessarily the doctor. But sometimes, correct me if I'm right, I want your feedback on this, gentlemen. I'm kind of feeling more and more. Now, current status, full out in front of you, don't buy shit until it's released. But we're talking about when you said this game was going to be released on November 14th, last year, way back when, is sometimes they might just say that to say, okay, as long as the money keeps coming in.
Yeah. I got a question for you, Vin.
Mm-hmm.
If you have some stuff tattooed on you, is that written in stone?
I am written in stone, baby.
No,
wait, J-Man, would you like me to draw you a diagram of it?
That was a really bad pun.
I know. I was hoping I made one or two of our audience members cringe with that one. I don't know. Developers overestimate or underestimate how much time actually takes to complete a project all the time. I mean, I work with a bunch of them. They have zero time management skills. But I see this as like a trend. Oh, SteamOS isn't a real boy, so we can push our AAA game off later. Star Citizen's doing it. Project Cars is doing it. I really hope this isn't a trend where we had like 2-3 years of really good progress, and people are like, our game is contingent on Steam machines.
I want to ask both of you
Valve time.
I'll ask you this question. Do you think it affects release dates when more money is thrown at them than they have money for the Xbox and the PS4 develop kits, and then their attention goes, we're doing all the, wait, more money over here.
Yeah. As long as they keep getting money, they don't have to release the game. That's why pre-ordering shit is bad. Because if you're giving developers
that's why early access is a
for
thing.
not releasing a game, if you're giving them money for not releasing their game, what incentive do they have to ever finish it? They're already making bank with stupid people.
And, in the age of digital distribution, pre-orders are basically worth fuck. And all but then I hear you have to educate people about CRT screens.
Okay. Here's the thing. I've actually never been able to put this in words. But I finally found somebody that was capable of putting why I'm so irritated about our current generation of hipster pixel graphics. And he did it in a glorious manner. Timothy Lutz. Indie versus real slugfest. If you see the squares, you're doing it wrong, period. The classic pixel art masters never intended for it to look ugly as exact square pixels. We got 2 pictures here. You can always find this business in our show notes. First picture, what indie developers think arcade look like. What arcades actually look like. And that is brilliantly spot on.
Rectangles!
Look at all the CRT scan lines.
Yep. And just sit as your brain cooks from the radiation being shot at your eyes.
But seriously, I mean, when you look at these 2 pictures, I mean, the one on the left, I mean, that's our current generation of hipster pixel graphics. And you look at the one on the right, I mean, even if it was a filter or something like that, I mean, that's what they were dealing with, and they did their best to make it not look like what the shit we're getting today looks like. I
Not
mean,
look like ass.
yeah, that's another way of putting it. Speaking of asses, have you ever stuck a gerbil up yours?
I have, but that's a story for
Unfortunately
another time. No, this is the G5. This is essentially if you have a Logitech G Series mouse, like this one that I'm holding up right here, you can program some of the mouse buttons specifically on the side. I'm still holding it up, but whatever. This, normally, you have to plug this into a Windows machine to use the Logitech drivers to actually configure this. This guy has sort of reverse engineered the protocol and reverse engineered how to inject firmware onto the mouse. And he's released this on GitHub. But there is a bit of a fair warning. I I actually had another one of these mice kicking around at one point. I had since thrown it out. I thought I still had it, so I was going to try this out. But this is not in 100% working state. The guy's still doing heavy development on it. It may end up breaking your mouse.
Mhm.
But if you do break your mouse, the easiest way to fix it, plug it back into a Windows machine and configure it properly.
Update the firmware. Or you can just sign up
So
a
what
VM.
exactly does it do, German?
It basically lets you configure the programmable buttons on a Logitech G500 mouse or the G502 or whatever it is. It was a fairly popular mouse. It has the nice clicky scroll wheel thing that lets you go woo,
Whoosh.
yeah, whoosh indefinitely and scroll to the instant bottom of a page. There's some setup you need to do. You need to compile this yourself. You got to set up some UDEV rules. I don't know if you have a G500 mouse kicking around that you don't feel too bad about bricking.
One thing he did say is like
like
worst case scenario is equivalently you have to install Windows and use it to reset it, which again is like for me that would be breaking your mouse. I would just throw it out the window. B-man, thoughts, hints, allegations.
I have no idea because you see my Rocat Kova Plus here
So
has
much YOLO swag.
Linux supported firmware.
please sponsor us,
And-
Rocat. We need the money and the mice.
Yeah, there's actually a guy, Stefan something. He actually reverse engineered the Rocat firmware, and there's a Linux version of the drivers available for you to reconfigure everything from the buttons on the side, what the scroll wheel does, what the YOLO swaggy LEDs do.
Scroll up, right
You can
click,
do all
scroll
that.
down, left click. That's how you do
Yeah,
it.
you can actually set it to do that.
All right, that's a bit
It's-
neat. But our next story is not a Formula One racing track, but it is Soma.
Oh. It's Soma from Frictional Games. You may remember them as the genius, insidious, fucking asshole minds behind Amnesia: The Dark Descent that made me shit my pants for a good 2 months before.
Is that
managed
why
to
you got the
work up
towels behind
courage.
you, or is that in preparation?
It's in preparation.
More
yes.
like Preparation H, am I right?
Giggity.
But yeah, this is Soma. This is the new game from the guys behind Amnesia: The Dark Descent, and they've
It's going into beta.
since moved out. Yeah, they've moved out of beta. It's done. They're just waiting for the.
They finished their internal beta.
No, they finished their internal beta. They're going for a public
Yes,
beta soon.
they're waiting for the feedback. They're probably going to do an actual beta, public beta, or at least limited beta with some press. Hey, Frictional, remember us? We want some keys.
No, we do. We actually do need to get props to
we want to get
Frictional,
wrecked and review your game.
because that's what we did with Machine for Pigs. I mean, they sent us that game like a week before it was out, and free QA, LGC. We know how to keep our mouth shut, and Double Fine knows that. Frictional knows that, and we'll continue doing that for anyone that wants people to give feedback on the
But
video
yeah,
games that
everyone-
don't go. How do I Linux? Crash log? What?
Yeah, the big question about Soma
S-Trace?
is
What's that?
when is it coming out? And they're not ready to share the exact release date yet. They're still waiting on some more feedback. They want to get everything just right. So there is.
They've been working
no
on it. This
final-
thing, I think they started on 2012.
Yeah, no,
2013
that's
was
why
when
they,
the first
they
trailer came
tapped the
out.
Chinese room for Machine for Pigs so that they could focus on this.
Yeah. So yeah, stick around. They're probably going to announce a date soon enough. It's not there yet because again, they're waiting for feedback. So stick around.
For what?
And you too should stick around for our game review of stuff from Space Portugal developed on Unity Personal Edition. Yeah.
That
It's
is,
that
can't really
bad.
do other things,
Spoilers.
yeah.
Spoiler.
The game that is facing this week's chair acquisition hails all the way from Space Portugal, and it shows. We're reviewing Slinki from Titan Forge Games, written on this Unity engine. It's $4.99 with stinky space buck euros, and they describe it as hack your way through a maddened forest with one angry bunny sharp, independently targeting bionic shard of concentrated mayhem. It serves as the titular character's right arm, now fully detachable and slingshot capable for when you need to fling yourself across the street. That doesn't really describe what the game is, but we will. By God, we will. And of course, every week we have the chairquisition, the rules, the mantra. 1 chair means that it's garbage, 2 chairs means that's math, 3 chairs means that's pretty good, and 4 chairs is not something you're going to see in this review. And we also have our categories to do, mixed with the working, shiny sounds, controls, and fun. If you don't know how this works, go back, watch some other episodes on YouTube, give us some of that sweet advertising revenue. But let's kick this off. Then, did Slinkies make with the working, or did it roll down the stairs?
Well, Master Svang, how did it work? And how did the chairs judge it? Well, that's something we need to think about, because I tested it on the Ubuntu 1404 LTS. Octa-core 8150, 4K displayed, 980 powered box of business. And here's the thing. It doesn't even to this day make with a working, not in the slightest. But you do lose a chair for each day that your game is available for purchase on the Steam store in a completely non-playable and or functional state. And this one did it twice. So I'm going to have to say, makes with a working, 2 chairs, J-Man.
Well, I mean, it works.
Yeah.
Sort of, kind of. Like, the menu system in there is completely borked. You cannot navigate anything. It's not really apparent how to, like, select levels or anything like that. So, it squeaks away with 3 chairs for mix with the working.
On what?
But it's not on the Fedora 21 powered 64-bit 980 4K powered box of business.
Okay, how many chairs?
Yeah.
3 chairs?
3.
All right.
Yes. And on the Amiga with the FX 8370E, overclocked at 4 GHz, and the GTX 970 Strix on Corora 21 64-bit with Plasma 5 KDE5. For those of you who don't know what that is.
Somebody run it.
Yeah, so the moment I click play on the game, executable missing. Okay, time to bug the devs. And since they're Portuguese, I'm like, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We had a little discussion with him because I couldn't communicate properly, and I was like, all right.
Yeah.
Moonspeak.
Translate, monkey.
As you can see in the description that Jordan, or here, in the description that Jordan gave earlier, their English, not very good. But in any case, I was like, yeah, you need to fix this because it's still not downloading anything. And he went looking, I suppose, and he saw, oh, crap, I forgot to tie the Linux depot to the release version. Yeah, it should be working now. So I restart Steam, fire it back up. Yeah.
So after we QA'd this game for them,
yeah.
After paying for it, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But then I start the game and I see, oh, look, it's the Unity pop-up. -1 chair right off the bat. And then the game had some issues, but they have since sort of fixed that. But that Unity pop-up, that's the sign of a lazy developer right there. Because if you're not going to commit to your game, I sure as hell am not going to commit to giving you a proper score. 3 chairs.
Oh yeah, so that's 3. That's 2 chairs for mix with the working. Sort of lost track there playing with my sleevey things. Up next, shiny and sounds. Ven, was it shiny? Oh, wasn't.
One
Go.
soundtrack to rule them all that you can't disable. That's brilliant. And it's just that one soundtrack that goes over.
It's called Pulse Audio Control.
And over and over. No, I'm just trying to be fair. I mean, I wouldn't want to confuse an Arch user. But dear flying spaghetti monster, what noise does that thing make when you have contact with an enemy? I haven't heard anything that disturbing since we picked up the sex swing for the LGC office. I mean, it's terrifying. And so much screen tearing. It's miserable. It will break your eye pussies in half. I can hear my 980 begging me to have a go. It's like, I can sort this, but like, nope. Screw you! We're going to lock this at 60 FOPS, even though VSync is complete rubbish, under Linux. So mix that with unable to, outside of going into Pulse Audio, disabling and all that, cut on the soundtrack, and just half frames going all the way through. And it doesn't matter what you do because it's Unity. I'm going to give this shiny and sounds. I'm going to give it 2 chairs. J-Man, what do you got to say about that, son?
Yeah, no, that soundtrack was pretty horrendous. I noped it in Pulse Audio within the first couple minutes and replaced it with Blind Guardians Beyond the Red Mirror, which is much, much better and a much better soundtrack than this game deserves. The visuals, it's very much of my first Unity game. The backgrounds, the backgrounds are the worst because it's not really clear what you can jump on versus what you cannot jump on. So you're going to get yourself killed with insta-kill spikes going, okay, I'm going to land here. Wait, what? No, what? Why? And yeah, so it definitely loses some points for that. But like I said, the game is so full of stock Unity assets, it's actually kind of pathetic. So I got to give it 2 chairs because the graphics are there, but it, again, squeaking by here.
Yeah, and besides the fact that the visuals are actively working against you, and someone could make the argument that the audio is doing the exact same thing because that fucking thing was loud. I had to mute it at the moment it started. But yeah, if you pay attention to the screenshots, you can tell that the backgrounds, the little background thingies that they built on the level, they always look the same. They just change the color palette around. That's it. There's no imagination going into the graphics of this game. I can't give it 1 chair because 1 chair means that it's just outright busted and you can't see a damn thing. So I have to give it very reluctantly 2 chairs.
One thing worth mentioning that I forgot to say in my part, if you had this game after they added the Linux Depot, everything was black. I had some screenshots in the show notes, but we nixed that story. I'll see if I can find them again, but it's just darkness imprisoning me. But this it gets 2 chairs on Shining Sounds. Anyways, up next, Control,
relax. Wow. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. The first thing you're greeted with is the Unity pop-up screen of Nope. -2 chairs. Now, while the controls are mapped to the X-Clone controller, they're mapped in such a way it makes it completely unplayable. Seriously. And anyone who claims they can sort that Moonglyph box of Unity control sorting is a damn liar. Sorry. Using the keyboard plus your gerbil worked, maybe, but the input sluggishness, it's so sluggish. It would make Superman 64 mothering blush. That's all I got to say about that. But just for shits and giggles, since you're effectively forced to play it with your keyboard and your gerbil, and you have to use your gerbil for your secondary aiming mechanic, nope, there's no sensitivity settings, anything like that. You're just stuck with that business. And we have the physics. Oh, man. We have the physics, don't we, P-Man?
Oh, yeah.
In what moon universe does a character accelerate at the end of their jump? Question mark. That doesn't make anything fuck you hard. It makes me question your ability. I don't know. To pour a glue stick out of your mouth. The dude's got a PhD
on something.
Yeah, marketing.
And you know what? I could actually live with that. But the fucking thing, here's the fucking thing. It loses gerbil focus if you play it in a window, if you open up Steam Overlay. Yep. You know, you hit Shift Tab, like, pause that for a minute. No, go over here and chat now. Gone. And that's your entire half of your mechanic. I shit you not. It makes it wholly unplayable. But I'm not done yet. But wait! There's more! Try to exit the game using your gerbil. Do it. I fucking dare you. You can. You barely twitch. I spent like 5 minutes of like, I'm going to do this. Personally. Me, Vin fucking Stone. I'm going to say I managed to quit this damn game using my gerbil. Alt F4, I gave up. So, busted controls. Period. They don't work with the controller organ. They're lazy. They didn't bother to use X input, SDL2, all that fun stuff. And the way it's mapped to a controller is laughable beyond belief. / completely unplayable unless you hate somebody, and maybe that might make a fun Let's Play. Mix that with losing mouse focus and window mode that you haven't fixed yet, Brad. Your shit's busted, son. 1 chair. All you get.
Oh, man. Speaking of hating yourself, I hate myself, so I played through the first 3 levels using nothing but a controller. And my God. So, let's put it this way. Let's get me a visual aid here. I was using this Hori Pro Xbox 360 controller. So, this button is boomerang. This button is jump. And then you have aim and move. Those are your only controls. And it's ass fucking stupid. Why would you put your jump button on as like the left shoulder button? That makes no sense. You either set it to A or Y, the topmost or the bottommost button or the
because
bottommost
they
base
thought
button.
Unity would do it for them, Brad.
Oh yes, of course, the magical Unity controller support. Real tempted to give it 1 chair, but it is actually playable if you want to use a controller. It takes a while to get used to.
A controller in full
pretty-
screen.
Yeah, a controller in full screen. It's pretty fucking painful. I'll give it that. I didn't actually try it with the keyboard and mouse or in Windows mode, so I can't speak to anything Ben said. Really tempted to give it 1 chair, but I can't because the controls do technically work, but it's not like my score in this matter will affect its overall grade. So it gets 2 chairs, but it's going to get overruled by this guy.
Yep. So, this is a platformer. Make no mistake, this is an action platformer, and the controls are floaty as fuck, as most Unity games tend to be. Like Ven said, physics don't work that way. You jump, and your character actually accelerates as he's jumping, and then the moment he touches the ground, it's like he never jumped at all. It's like the exact same speed. What the fuck? And then there's the fact that you say you're trying to land on a platform to avoid yourself from falling into, the endless pits or the insta-kill spikes. Yeah, you really can't manage how your character is jumping if he keeps overshooting the platform. So, all that aside, because I know physics are hard, man, but here's the kicker. I was about 50 minutes into the game and the spacebar stopped working. And I'm like, why is it not jumping? So I close the game. I open something. I think it was actually Google Chrome. Just hit the spacebar. Yeah, the cursor is moving, so the spacebar is working. All right, so it's not the keyboard. I went back into the game, saw the Unity pop-up come up, reassigned the jump key to another key, and it didn't work either. So then I proceeded to uninstall the game, remove the config files, and reinstall it again. Nope, no dice. So there's probably a configuration file somewhere in my hard drive that I did not find, and it's not in the usual places. So I lost the ability to jump on a platformer. Congratulations. It takes a special kind of busted to pull that one off. 1 chair.
And that's 1 chair for controls. And now, to cap off this review, the fun section. Ben, did you enjoy yourself at all?
I'm gonna need a drink before I get into this.
Chug, 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 chug.
All right. This night match, right? Okay, listen. I get that it's trying to make a Sonic on a budget with a grappling mechanic. I get it. That's fantastic. Thing is, Sonic, even on the Genesis, conveyed a sense of speed. This, question mark, the little guy's hunched down, and he's like he's ready to skull fuck the sound barrier, but he moves at the speed of smell, Brad. Not really seeing it. What's the story? Who am I? What am I? Why do I care about running and jumping? I don't. It's never explained in game. But if you go to the Steam page and you read up all and all, then that's, yeah, all right. No, let's not do that. And where the hell did you get, and I want to quote from your Steam page, Slinki is hard as nails 2.5D action platformer. Where did you get that from? What the all are nails made of in space Portugal. Mayonnaise.
Jeez.
I don't know. I had no fun with this. I tried to have fun with this. I put an hour of my valuable life into this, and it didn't give me anything back. Nothing. It's a thing, and we spent roughly 15 wet stinky cashes between the three of us. We had to help the developers. It's like, oh, it doesn't work. And I was like, yeah, that's what you get for QAing your shit in a VM, because I guarantee you that's what they did, and they thought it worked. So let me tell you about your game, Brad. You get one chair, because that's being generous.
I sincerely doubt the Linux version of this was even QA'd. They hit export, and they shipped it off, clearly.
Probably.
Anyways, this game isn't hard. It's annoying because you're constantly fighting the controls, which are terrible. And that is basically where any of the difficulty from this game comes from. Is, oh, I overshot this. I'm gotta start from the beginning. Oh, I overshot this. Gotta start from the beginning. If you wanted to make this hard, you would have removed half of the freaking checkpoints that you have here, because there's one after every single jump, pretty much.
That now works.
So, yeah. This is clearly the first attempt at a game. The platforming is stale. The gimmick has already been done before, and I'm not even having fun. You know what this game actually kind of reminded me of? That other freaking one that was just the boss fights.
Isbra, yes.
Isbra. It kind of reminds me of Isbra, and I hated that game too. Supposedly there is a story to this game. I can't fucking figure it out for the life of me. And you have to tell the story through the game. That's just how it works. But like Ven said, don't tell me to check the Steam page. It's dumb. You wasted an hour of my life, sirs, and I want it back. One chair.
Yeah, here's the thing. What they were trying to do was that they were trying to create one of those rage platformers that are... Well, they're all the rage on YouTube right now. All the
I see what you did there.
PewDiePies and all the Markipliers and the Cinnamon Toast Kens and everyone out there is playing a rage platformer so they can shout and cuss at the camera and have all the 10-year-olds giggling maniacally.
I think you're overestimating that.
Yeah, here's the thing. They tried to do that, but they failed. What this is my first Portuguese Unity game.
Damn, that means something.
Maybe if I wasn't so jaded about bad Unity games, I might even have considered some leniency towards this guys. On accounts of them being Portuguese and all that. Unfortunately for them, I'm far too jaded at this point when it comes to Unity and really shitty Unity Linux games. I can't give it 0 chairs because that's not allowed, but I will give it 1.
Damn, 1 chair. So apparently, unlike brown cracks.
That's one chair for fun and 1 chair overall. That's fucking awful. Ven, you had some choice words for them as a final thought.
All right, so that's a big no. Hashtag Lana.
No.
I'm going to give you a bit of free advice. I've consulted on more indie games than you've made, I assure you of that. And here's the thing. You could have had sold a few copies on Linux, but you half-arsed it, Brad. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You had no chance of making any money on the Windows Store, because there's other games with the same bullshit mechanics that do it better. And what really scares me is what we're seeing here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Because when you first start this business, this nonsense, this nightmare fuel, this rapist of your time, you see, the Unity didn't pay for it edition.
Personal.
I know. And I fear this is just the first droplet in the upcoming flood of what is to come. Any other thoughts?
No, I think that caps it off nicely. This is hopefully this is an indicative of what is to come, but I don't know. This game is fucking awful. Don't buy it.
Contrary to popular belief, I don't actually enjoy shitting on games. And I am Portuguese. I would very much like to see an indie team from Portugal actually pull off a good game. These guys did not. This is shit. Pure, unabated shit.
Now, what if this game was on Greenlight?
I wouldn't fucking vote for it.
Well, and they couldn't give away keys to get people to vote for it either. And on that bombshell, let's kick on over to the hate mail section because I'm sick of talking about this game. It's bad. Bad.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we moved our little Patreon update of the week because we don't really have any new patrons to speak of, but we do like to remind people that you can still kick some wet stinkies our way over at patreon.com/LinuxGameCast.
Well, you know, here's the whole thing. I mean, we're sitting here, and unlike a lot of people who live stream and do their shows,
We're not masturbating.
We're not masturbating, A. But B, I mean, we're trying to spend, like, you know, at least 4 hours with everyone and, you know, get to know them and hang out and do the whole business and, you know, maybe a little value for value. I mean, if you enjoy that business, you know, kick over to what we're doing here. I mean, this is the Patreons. And you got to look at it this way. I mean, if you met us in person and you survived, would you buy us a drink? I mean, this is a way to buy us a drink. I mean, $1 a show, 5 cents a show, whatever you can afford. I know times are tough and all that business. And
we're $7 away from trying to kill each other.
I mean, just look at this as a way to give us an adult beverage every week, because, you know, that's how we gauge interest in this show and what we're going to do with this show. And we can't say, we're going to spend a lot more monies to do X unless people are saying, all right, we'll give you a taste. Like I said, 5 cents. Does that sound
fair? We're always looking for feedback, so you can definitely
Patreon goals. Come on, hot pepper challenges.
Yep. So speaking of feedback, Pedro, shouldn't we kick into the hate mail?
Oh yes. It is the hate mail. Let's kick it on with the usual disclaimer. If you'd like to get in touch with us, go on over to LinuxGameCast.com, push the contact button, fill out the forum, fill out the captcha thing, and we'll be happy to feature your message, unless, of course, it is the usual emails that we get of people trying to promote their games and not sending us any keys. PR companies. Yeah, I'm talking to you right now. Keys. We need at least 3 of them in order to be able to feature your game. And the thing that tickles me the wrong way the most is when those same PR companies send us emails about games that aren't even out for Linux. Fuck you. Seriously. Fuck you.
All right. Coming up first, Peter, and I'm going to talk about this.
Speaking of
Patrons, he says, right. So I'm thinking, I love these guys. They're like my friends I don't really have. We are really your friends, if you give us money. And I'm about to pay
much like prostitutes.
50 wet stickies, but it requires me to log into the Facebooks. I don't have the Facebook, nor do I have the face space. Come on, guys, shut up. Take my monies. And where do I put them? Well,
I was just going to say we got a podcast page.
I was getting to that, Brad. Anything else before I get to that?
No, go ahead.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, take a shot. Jordan just interrupted someone.
After you.
Here's the thing. You can not use your Facebooks page because cleverly disguised right below that button on Patreon, or sign up with email. It's genuinely simple. That's something you need to think about. You got to keep in mind that Patreon was created by 2 independent musicians trying to come up with a way that their friends could get paid by being independent without having to sign up to some bullshit label and getting raped effectively. That is what it is. But if you really have a drive to give us wet stinkies, which we appreciate, to a faceless corporation, we got you covered, Brad. We do. Over here, /podcast. You can just scroll down. We got the Amazon links, but we do have a one-time $3.50.
Yes.
And a $10 a month thing here for the PayPals. I mean, if you really dig that. But there's something that you also need to keep in mind. While we do appreciate all those donations, and we live off that, that is what we take from the show to do something with the show, to do more incredible amazeball things. The PayPals, they don't count towards our milestone goals on the Patreon. So, take that with a bit of chainsaw. What do you think, P-Man?
I think that if everyone that actually watches or listens to the show gave us, say, 1 single cent for each show, we'd be filthy rich right about now. Unfortunately,
We'd have 25 cents.
Unfortunately, we are not. Because, But if you really like to kick some wet stinkies our way, just... There, like Ben said, there's the podcast page.
That's the way to do it.
And just a reminder, you don't need to give us money to support us.
Nope.
Spread the word. We also have oft-mentioned Amazon affiliate
Post
link.
it on your Facebook's page. Post it on your Twitter nets. Post it on your G Pluses. I mean, let people know about it. And I'm completely guilty. I mean, it took me, and I'm just going to continue talking because I can talk longer than you because I have a higher lung capacity, Jordan. Here's the thing. It took me a long time. You can still keep on talking. Circular breathing, motherfucker. Here's the thing. So, it did take me a while. The Patreons, before we even started it, because Brian Brushwood, he started it with, Night Attack, and Tom did it for DTNS. I was like, I don't know about that. But then I learned about the people that were doing it, and, I kicked them, $1 a show, $1 a month, depending accordingly. And that was a huge fuck-mothering step for me. I've never been a person. But when it really clicked into my mind, I was like, this is how these people make a living. So, I mean, if you hate independent broadcasters, and if you would love for us to have this segment brought to you by Ting. Hey, Pedro, how are you doing?
It's not.
Wait, no, I'm sorry. This segment is brought to you by
System 76.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, sure. Or I don't know, Games for Windows Live.
That's brilliant. I mean, that's what we're trying to avoid. So keep that in your brain, Hoggins. Up next.
Yep. Up next, Talos. So this is from Ingolf Stern, and he says, "You all say glad O's. To me, it is intended to be said glad us. If you disregard the dual meaning or the dual nature of the name with the intended reference to Gladys, then GLaDOS isn't meaningful. And dudes, what about the metaphysics of the game? The story, right? I mean, this is about assumption, enlightenment, and man's journey to transcend his animal nature. And yet we only hear about frame rates and dribble. Just pony up for the expensive video card, get 1,000 gigajoules of RAM, and let it play the way it was meant to be played. Tech
Jordan,
details,
all I'm hearing
so
is that you shouldn't have bought that 980. You should have bought a Titan X.
I absolutely should have, because I need 12 gigs of VRAM. And, it's all well and good, except for the fact that I'm not sure if you're talking about Talos or Portal at this point, because you don't make your subject very clear in your email. But there's also the part where we are the technical podcast for people who like to Linux and do other stuff good, too.
I'm right there with you, brother. I mean, I got to quote, this is about Ascension. I'm like, and it's kind of where I fell. You got to see this, Brad. This is Linux review. We already have the 980s, 2 980s, 2 4K monitors. We have a 970. Way for the lovely people. Oh,
sorry, don't you mean a 969.5?
Yeah, whatever.
960.5.
And at the end of the day, take that shot. What we're trying to explain is how it works on the Penguin. That is a very difficult fucking subject to fucking cover. If you want to listen to somebody with a sparkly cowboy boots and the lackady hairdo telling you is like, well, this game, and I figure it looks like this. There's a billion other places to do that. And I suggest you do, Brad. So, Brad.
Harley. Yes. This was a controversial theme this week. Not only did we get this specific message,
a whole
we also
of two.
had an entire thread on Chat Realm Static about this very subject. But this one will remain anonymous. Let's call him, say, Brad.
No. Full disclaimer. This is completely anonymized because I respect this person. I mean, I've known this person for a long time. They genuinely do not like Matt. It has nothing to do with our show or... They just genuinely do not like Matt. I just want to put that out there to make everything perfectly fair. Go ahead.
Yeah, but like I said, let's call him Brad for the sake of consistency. Mm-hmm. And he says, I would rather blow Sandy once a week versus listen to Matt once in my life. Yes,
I'm sure Sandy would be partial to that, too.
I just got a major I love being a douchebag on LAS from him, and if you ever listen to LAS with him and mentally block Chris, it sounded like Matt was a bad porn movie actor because he couldn't shut his fucking hole for 3 seconds. Oh, yes, you are right. Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I gave people the warning. Once you hear it, you cannot unhear it.
Pedro, whoa. You kind of give me shake weight flashbacks from that South Park episode when you're doing your... Oh, yes, that's the stuff. Here is your bus fare.
Spritz. Change.
But yeah,
no, but
you know, got issues. I'll give you that.
You know what? I get it. Matt's not everyone's cup of tea, but it is the first time we had him on. There's always that awkward adjustment period, and as we develop our rapport and dynamic, it could get better. It could get worse. Stay tuned for the train wreck, regardless.
Pillar talk.
Pillars turkey.
Pillars.
All right, sure. I'll just take this one. This is from Florian, and he says, "You guys think that Obsidian didn't do great with the license of KOTOR and Fallout 3? WTF? They made it way better. But I like the review. Smiley face. It's unique. Yes, unique is a word I would use to describe our reviews. It's not the only word. There are several other expletive words that I'd use after that, but certainly unique is amongst them. I don't know.
Something that like really stops you is like, well, these guys are in rooms and they're rating things with chairs, and the first thing that comes across your brain organ is, well, that's unique.
That's like saying we're
that is an accurate adjective. I'll give them that. I don't know. I actually like KOTOR 2 up into the point where you couldn't play it anymore because it was busted.
Oh yeah. I don't know, but the way he says way better, if it means that the people at Obsidian found new and interesting ways to introduce even more bugs to both the Aurora and the Gamebryo engine from BioWare and Bethesda respectively, then congratulations, it's the best fucking games out there. KOTOR 2, Fallout New Vegas, Neverwinter Nights 2, yeah, they're fucking amazing. But as buggy and busted as Fallout 3 was on release day, I was still able to finish it within 48 hours of release without having to patch it. That is something I could not do in either KOTOR 2 or Fallout New Vegas. And they actually needed like 3 or 4 patches before you could actually finish the game. That's bad. Real fucking bad.
See, the only thing I remember about Fallout New Vegas was I Skyrim'd a chicken at the beginning of the game, and everyone started shooting at me.
Yeah, if you do that in town, it'll happen.
And on that bombshell, let's cue the music, because you can always find us sometime around 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Just search for Time in East Coast. That's going to be business right there. Join in Chat Realm Dynamic. Join in Chat Realm Static. We're all there. Kick us a few shackles if you got them. On the Patreons. I'm Vin Stone at Vin Stone. Plus Vin Stone on the G Pluses. Now go ahead and tell them about that giveaway, baby.
Yeah, you should post on the giveaway for him, and Empty will get around to approving your first post whenever he gets off his drunk ass. I'm Jordan Spung. You can find me at The Burning Fool on Twitter or plus Jordan Spung on the Google+.
Yes, Skyrim the Chicken. There's our show title right there. I am Pedro Mateos. You can find me at Unaccounted For on Twitter or plus Pedro Mateos on Google+.
Just remember, beautiful party people, zombie demon hordes on the internet, that Steam drinks your milkshake now.
Well, their milkshake
Pin to the head.
Bring all the boys to the yard.
I drink it up!
That was kind of disturbing there at the end. I was like, what? That was a weird movie. You just got to admit that.
5 dudes.